Good evening, America. Tonight, the question that is consuming Washington, that is consuming every intelligence agency, every foreign ministry, and every oil market on earth is this. A deal is sitting on the table. Negotiators on both sides say it is largely done. The framework has been agreed in principle, and yet Donald Trump has not signed it. His own vice president said today it is TBD whether the president will put his signature on this agreement. TBD. To be determined. After 90 days of war, after hundreds of airstrikes, after thousands dead, after the worst global energy crisis in decades, after weeks of ceasefire negotiations, summit meetings, Pakistani mediators flying between capitals, Qatari back channels, and American officials describing a pretty solid thing on the table. After all of that, the answer from the Vice President of the United States on whether there will be peace is TBD. Tonight, we are going to tell you exactly why. We are going to tell you what happened in the last 24 hours that may have just blown this entire deal apart before Trump ever got the chance to sign it. And we are going to tell you why the answer to the question of whether America gets peace or more war may have nothing to do with Iran at all. Stay with me, because what happened overnight is something that every American needs to understand completely. Let us start with the most urgent development, the one that broke overnight and is reshaping the entire diplomatic landscape as you watch this video right now. Iran struck a United States military base in Kuwait. Let me say that again clearly so it registers fully. During an active ceasefire, with peace negotiations at the most advanced stage they have ever reached, with a memorandum of understanding sitting unsigned on a desk waiting for Trump's approval, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched a retaliatory missile and drone strike against an American airbase in Kuwait. Kuwait's army confirmed its air defense systems were activated to intercept hostile drones and missiles. Explosions were heard over Kuwait City. The strike was real. American service members were in the line of fire, and the IRGC issued a statement saying, and these are their exact words, "Any act of aggression will not go unanswered, and if repeated, our response will be even more decisive." That statement was a direct response to American airstrikes that U.S. Central Command conducted the previous day against Iranian targets near Bandar Abbas, the critical port city and naval base at the entrance to the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM said it shot down 4 Iranian one-way attack drones near the strait and then struck the Iranian ground control station that was about to launch a 5th. The Pentagon called the action measured, purely defensive, and intended to maintain the ceasefire. Iran called it aggression, and Iran responded by hitting American military personnel in Kuwait. So here is the situation as of this morning. America says it acted defensively. Iran says America committed aggression. Iran struck back at American forces on Allied soil. America is calling the ceasefire messy but intact. Iran is calling American strikes a violation and threatening even more decisive responses if they continue. And somewhere in Washington, Donald Trump is looking at a memorandum of understanding that asks him to accept a 60-day nuclear negotiation framework with a government that just fired missiles at his troops. That is the deal that Vice President Vance said is TBD. Now let us go back 24 hours and look at the full chain of events that led to last night's Kuwait strike, because understanding the sequence is critical to understanding what this escalation means for the deal. It started at the Strait of Hormuz. In the early hours of Thursday morning, 4 commercial vessels attempted to transit the Strait of Hormuz and enter the Persian Gulf. According to Iranian state media, those vessels attempted to pass through the waterway without coordinating with the IRGC security forces responsible for the strait. The IRGC warned the ships. The ships ignored the warning, and then Iran fired warning shots at all 4 vessels, forcing them to turn back. This is Iran firing on commercial shipping. This is Iran enforcing what it calls a coordination requirement over a waterway that it claims to control, the same waterway that the entire peace deal is supposed to reopen to free and unimpeded international navigation. Then, separately, U.S. Central Command conducted strikes on Iranian drone launch infrastructure near Bandar Abbas. CENTCOM said those strikes were in response to Iranian drones threatening U.S. forces and commercial traffic. Iran condemned the strikes. Then Iran struck Kuwait. And Vice President Vance went on camera and acknowledged the ceasefire has little flare-ups, calling it always a little messy, while simultaneously confirming Trump had not yet decided whether to sign the memorandum. This is not a messy ceasefire. This is a ceasefire that is being violated on multiple fronts simultaneously during the most sensitive 48-hour window of the entire 3-month war at the exact moment when the peace deal hangs on one signature. And the signature is not coming because something is holding Trump back. Tonight, we are going to tell you what that something is. Here is the core of it, the thing that has been buried underneath all the optimistic deal talk, and it comes directly from Axios, the outlet that has had the most accurate and detailed insider reporting on these negotiations throughout the entire conflict. The Axios reporting, which was confirmed by multiple U.S. officials, reveals that the Memorandum of Understanding as currently drafted includes Iran committing to never pursue nuclear weapons. It includes Iran entering negotiations on enrichment suspension. It includes Iran entering negotiations on removing its enriched uranium stockpile. But here is what it does not include, and this is the critical detail. The MOU does not require Iran to stop enriching uranium before it is signed. It does not require Iran to remove or destroy its existing stockpile before the deal takes effect. It does not include any independent verification mechanism that would be operational from day one. What it does is extend the ceasefire for 60 days while those nuclear questions are negotiated in a follow-on round of talks. Iran gets the ceasefire extension. Iran gets some sanctions relief proportional to opening the strait. And the nuclear concessions are promises about future negotiations, not immediate verifiable actions. Trump has been telling America since this war began that his deal would be the opposite of Obama's JCPOA. He has said it publicly, repeatedly, and with enormous emphasis. He said it would be totally different. He said Iran would have to give up its nuclear program, full stop. He said no dust, no dollars. He said Iran's highly enriched uranium would have to be removed one way or another. And the deal sitting on his desk does not fully deliver on any of those commitments in the first phase. It delivers verbal promises and 60 days of future talks. That gap between what Trump has said and what the deal actually contains is the reason the signature is TBD. And Trump knows something else that is making this even harder. The oil and gas reserves inside the United States are falling fast. The months-long closure of the Strait of Hormuz has forced the entire American energy industry to lean heavily on oil that has been sitting in storage. Those stockpiles are draining. The U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which exists precisely for emergencies like this, has limits. The longer this war drags on, the more vulnerable America's energy security becomes, not just in terms of price, but in terms of actual available supply. That economic clock is ticking loudly. It is pressuring Trump to sign something, anything, to get the strait open. And it is simultaneously giving Iran leverage it would not otherwise have, because every day the strait stays closed, America's energy situation gets a little more precarious. Now, let us talk about something remarkable that happened yesterday involving Oman that almost nobody is covering, because it reveals a whole new dimension of this crisis that America needs to understand. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent threatened Oman. The United States of America formally threatened one of its closest diplomatic partners in the Gulf with Treasury sanctions because Oman was involved in discussions about potentially charging fees for navigational and environmental services in the Strait of Hormuz in coordination with Iran. Bessent told reporters he had made clear to the Omanis that the United States would take Treasury action against any country or entity that supported Iran in tolling the strait. And then he said he received assurances from Oman that it does not plan to participate in tolling the waterway. The fact that America had to threaten Oman with sanctions to secure that assurance tells you everything about how isolated and desperate the United States' position in the Gulf has become. Oman has been one of America's most trusted back-channel diplomatic partners for decades. It was Oman that hosted the secret negotiations that led to the original JCPOA in 2015. And America just had to threaten it with Treasury action to stop it from helping Iran charge fees on the world's oil supply. Meanwhile, Trump went even further. He threatened to destroy Oman if it attempted to support Iran's control of the Strait of Hormuz. The President of the United States threatened to destroy a small Gulf nation that has been one of the most stable, pro-American diplomatic actors in the entire Middle East. That is the state of American diplomacy in the region right now, threatening allies with destruction while negotiating with adversaries over a word and a sentence. Now let us talk about what Vice President Vance actually said, because his words today deserve very careful attention. Vance was asked directly whether Trump would sign the tentative memorandum of understanding that negotiators have put together. His answer was it is TBD. He confirmed that the two sides are still negotiating over a couple of language points. He described these flare-ups in the ceasefire as always a little messy, and he said the U.S. reserves the right to launch defensive strikes even while the ceasefire is technically in place. Think about what that means from Iran's perspective. The United States is saying the ceasefire is messy and that America will keep striking Iran whenever it judges a threat to be imminent. Iran is saying any American strike is aggression that will be met with force. Both sides are saying the ceasefire is still in effect. Both sides are continuing military operations under the cover of that ceasefire. And the deal that is supposed to end this situation requires Trump to voluntarily extend this arrangement for 60 more days while nuclear talks proceed, with no guarantee those talks will succeed and no mechanism to prevent the same daily cycle of strikes and counterstrikes from continuing throughout those 60 days. It is also worth noting what the deal does and does not say about Lebanon, because the Lebanon dimension has been a persistent and unresolved sticking point throughout these negotiations. Rubio confirmed this week that conversations with Israel and Lebanon over Lebanon's inclusion in the deal are ongoing. Iran insists the deal must include a sustainable and lasting ceasefire in Lebanon with no exceptions. Israel insists it must retain the right to strike Hezbollah targets whenever it judges a threat to exist. Those two positions are mutually exclusive. And the memorandum, as currently drafted, has not resolved that contradiction. It has papered over it with language that both sides can interpret in ways that suit their own positions, which means the first time Israel strikes Lebanon after the deal is signed, Iran will declare the agreement violated, and the whole framework could unravel immediately. There is one more thing that happened overnight that has not yet received adequate attention in American media, and it changes the calculus in ways that are genuinely alarming. Iran launched missiles from its southern territory toward designated targets, according to the semi-official Fars news agency. The specific targets have not been identified. The timing, in the middle of ceasefire negotiations, simultaneous with the Kuwait-based strike and the Hormuz warning shots, suggests a coordinated Iranian signaling campaign. Iran is not waiting passively for Trump to decide whether to sign a deal. Iran is demonstrating, through active military operations, that it retains offensive capability, that it is willing to use that capability, and that the cost of continued American aggression, as Tehran defines it, will be paid in American military assets across the region, not just inside Iran. Here's the fullest and most honest picture of where things stand tonight on May 29, 2026, 91 days since the war began. A deal exists on paper. Trump has not signed it. Vance says it is TBD. Iran struck a U.S. base in Kuwait overnight. Iran fired warning shots at 4 commercial ships in the Strait this morning. American forces struck Iranian drone infrastructure near Bandar Abbas. Iran threatened even more decisive responses. America threatened Oman with sanctions. Trump threatened to destroy Oman. U.S. oil reserves are falling fast. The IAEA still cannot get inspectors into Iran. Iran is rebuilding its military during the ceasefire. Iran's supreme leader is threatening American military bases across the region. The Lebanon ceasefire is being violated daily by both sides. And the deal on the table, even if signed today, delivers 60 days of nuclear negotiations with no guarantee of outcome, no immediate nuclear concessions from Iran, and no enforcement mechanism that could survive another round of Iranian military action. This is 91 days of the most consequential American military engagement since Iraq. This is a war that has reshaped the Middle East, fractured the Trump cabinet, ignited a global energy crisis, divided Congress, and left America's closest Gulf allies scrambling to hedge against a future in which Iran permanently controls the world's most important oil shipping lane. And tonight, the answer from the Vice President of the United States on whether it will end is TBD. America, here is my question for you tonight, and it is the sharpest one yet. Iran struck an American military base in Kuwait last night during an active ceasefire and called it a serious warning, threatening even more decisive responses if America strikes again. Trump has not signed the deal. Vance says it is TBD. Knowing that Iran just attacked American forces in Kuwait while peace negotiations were at their closest point, if you were in Trump's position right now, would you sign this deal today, or would you order a full resumption of military strikes against Iran and fight this war to a complete military conclusion? There is no middle ground left. Drop your answer in the comments right now. This channel exists for this exact conversation. And if you are not subscribed, do it now and turn on notifications, because this story will break again before sunrise.